The sun was blazing over the city, its heat bouncing off the glass towers like tiny sparks of fire. People hurried past, glued to their phones, eyes fixed on screens instead of the world around them. Amid this bustle, a young black boy named Marcus stood at the entrance of the Grand Hotel, a place where wealth and privilege felt like air, available to everyone except those who didn't belong. Marcus had always known his life was different. Born to a single mother who worked 3 jobs, he had learned early on that survival wasn't about waiting for luck, it was about seizing every tiny opportunity. But today, as he looked up at the hotel's massive glass doors, something felt different. His heart pounded in a mix of excitement and nerves. "Hey, kid," a hotel valet called out, barely hiding a sneer. "You lost? This isn't the place for kids like you." Marcus swallowed his pride and straightened his back. He had heard mockery before, but today he had a mission. Today he carried something in his pocket, a small note. Handwritten, simple words promising that if he could prove his balance, he could earn the best suite in the hotel. The idea had sounded like a joke when it was first whispered to him by a mysterious man in a suit. Marcus had laughed nervously, thinking it must be some kind of prank. But the note, now folded in his hand, felt real. It smelled faintly of ink and opportunity. "Suites aren't for kids like you," another staff member muttered as Marcus approached the front desk. Whispers and laughter followed him like shadows. His hands trembled slightly, but he kept his eyes forward, staring straight at the receptionist. I have a note," Marcus said, his voice barely above a whisper, though firm. He pulled the small paper from his pocket and unfolded it carefully. The receptionist raised an eyebrow, glancing at the scribbled words. "Balance, huh? Let's see if you can handle it," she said with a smirk. Marcus had no idea what balance truly meant in this context. Was it money? Was it a test of skill? He only knew that every mocking glance he had, received until now, suddenly pressed him into a corner. Either he proved them wrong, or he walked away as just another forgotten kid in the city. He stepped into the grand lobby, feeling the cool marble under his feet. The air smelled of polished wood and expensive perfume, a world apart from his own cramped apartment. Every eye seemed to track him, a living challenge. Marcus focused, trying not to let fear take over. Then something clicked. He remembered his mother's words from years ago, whispered during late-night walks home. "Strength isn't just muscles, Marcus. It's mind, heart, and the courage to stand tall when everyone doubts you." Taking a deep breath, Marcus approached a large pedestal in the center of the lobby. On it rested a small balance beam, polished and gleaming under the chandelier's lights. The note had instructed him to step onto the beam and remain perfectly still. This, apparently, would prove he was worthy of the best suite. Laughter erupted from the crowd as Marcus placed one foot onto the beam. "He's gonna fall," someone whispered. Another chuckled. But Marcus kept his eyes forward, remembering every time he had been underestimated, every time the world had whispered that he wasn't enough. He lifted his other foot. Hard hammering, he felt the beam wobble slightly, but he centered himself. In that moment, every insecurity, every mocking word, every doubt he had ever heard seemed to fuel him rather than weaken him. He could feel the eyes of the entire lobby on him, waiting for him to fail, but he wouldn't. Not today. And then, as if the universe held its breath, Marcus found perfect balance. Still calm, unshaken. The silence was deafening for a moment. Then, slowly, people began to clap. Hesitant at first, then louder, until the lobby was alive with astonishment. Marcus smiled, a small, victorious grin. He had done it. He had proven himself, not just to them, but to himself. Little did everyone in that lobby know this was only the beginning. The best suite promised more than luxury. It promised secrets, power, and a test that would reveal the truth about Marcus in ways nobody could imagine. The applause in the lobby still echoed in Marcus's ears as he stepped down from the balance beam. His hands were slightly sweaty, but his heart was racing with excitement. The receptionist, who had smirked moments ago, now looked at him with a mix of surprise and respect. "Not bad, kid," she said, her voice softer now. But the balance beam was only the first step. "If you want the suite, you have to handle the next challenge." Marcus blinked. Another challenge? He had thought this was it, that he had proven himself already. But then he remembered the note, the strange man's words. Balance is just the beginning. The world measures more than stillness. It measures courage, mind, and heart. The receptionist gestured for him to follow. Marcus walked through a grand hallway lined with portraits of people who looked important. Powerful, untouchable. Their eyes seemed to follow him as he passed, silent witnesses to every step he took. His stomach twisted with nerves, but he kept walking. The hallway opened into a massive room, walls lined with books from floor to ceiling, and in the center a single table. Sitting behind it was a man who radiated authority, well-dressed, sharp eyes and a presence that demanded attention. Marcus recognized him immediately, the millionaire hotel owner himself. "Ah, Marcus," the man said, his voice calm but commanding. "You impressed us with your balance. Few have that calm under pressure. But balance alone won't earn you the suite. To prove your worth, you must solve a puzzle, one that tests your mind as well as your courage." Marcus swallowed hard. He wasn't sure what kind of puzzle a billionaire could be talking about. But he nodded. He had come this far. He wouldn't turn back now. On the table was a small black box, simple in appearance yet exuding a sense of mystery. "Inside this box," the millionaire continued, "is a key to unlock the suite. But the box only opens if you figure out the correct sequence. Look carefully and trust your instincts." Marcus leaned forward, examining the box. It had intricate carvings, tiny symbols, and a series of small buttons. His mind raced, but he focused on staying calm, just like he had on the balance beam. Every time life had tested him before, fear had been the enemy. Now he welcomed it as a companion, sharpening his senses. Minutes felt like hours as he studied the box. Pressing buttons, observing the reactions. A small light flickered, then went out. Another attempt, another flicker. Each failure made him focus harder. Remembering lessons from his mother, patience, persistence, and confidence. Finally, after what felt like forever, the box clicked. The top lifted slowly, revealing a small golden key inside. Marcus held it in his hand, feeling the weight of achievement. And the realization that he was one step closer to the suite. The millionaire leaned back in his chair, a rare smile crossing his face. "Impressive, Marcus." Not many could solve it so quickly. But now comes the final test. Courage. Marcus froze slightly. Courage? He had faced laughter, mockery, a balance beam, and a puzzle. What could be left? The man gestured to a large window overlooking the city skyline. "The suite you seek isn't just a room. It's a suite of opportunities, but only for those who dare to take risks. To claim it, you must step out onto the ledge outside just for a moment. Show us your trust in yourself." Marcus's heart skipped a beat. The ledge? Hundreds of feet above the ground? Every instinct screamed to step back, to say no. But deep down, he knew this was the moment that defined everything. He nodded slowly, walking toward the door that led to the balcony. His breath came in shallow bursts as he opened it. The wind hit his face, whipping through his hair, teasing him with fear. He looked down, thousands of feet to the ground below. A small misstep could mean disaster. But Marcus remembered the times he had been underestimated. Teachers doubting him. Strangers laughing at his dreams. Life itself trying to tell him he wasn't enough. He stood tall, feeling a surge of courage he hadn't known existed. Step by step, he moved onto the ledge, holding the railing tightly. The wind howled, but he held firm. In that moment, every fear, every doubt, every whisper of "you can't" transformed into power. He was proving to the world and to himself that he could rise above. When he stepped back inside, the millionaire clapped slowly, nodding with genuine admiration. "Marcus," he said, "you have passed every test. Not just balance, not just intellect, not just courage, but heart. That is the true key to everything." Marcus's chest swelled with pride. He had walked into this hotel as a nervous, underestimated boy. And now he stood as someone who had faced challenges most adults wouldn't dare. He had proven himself, not for applause, not for recognition, but because he had trusted in his own abilities. The hotel staff, who had mocked him earlier, now looked at him differently, some with awe, others with a hint of jealousy. Marcus didn't mind. He had gained something far greater than their approval, self-belief. Yet, as the millionaire handed him the key to the suite, Marcus felt a strange twinge of anticipation. This suite was said to be more than luxury. It was a place where secrets, opportunities, and unexpected truths awaited. What he didn't yet know was that stepping into that suite would change his life forever, and reveal a shocking truth about who he really was. Marcus took a deep breath, turned the key, and pushed open the door. The suite was breathtaking. Golden chandeliers, velvet curtains, views of the city that stretched endlessly. Yet amid the grandeur, he felt something deeper, an unseen challenge lurking, waiting for him to discover it. This was more than a reward. It was the beginning of a journey that would test every ounce of his mind, heart, and courage in ways he couldn't yet imagine. Marcus has unlocked the suite, but the surprises inside are beyond anything you expect. Marcus stepped into the suite, heart pounding with excitement and curiosity. The room was unlike anything he had ever seen. Walls lined with rich mahogany, golden accents reflecting the sunlight streaming through massive windows, and a view of the city that seemed endless. But it wasn't the luxury that drew his attention. It was a small, ornate envelope lying on a desk in the center of the room. He walked over, hands trembling slightly, and picked it up. The envelope had his name written in elegant script. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Marcus unfolded it, his eyes scanning the words. Marcus, you have proven balance, intelligence, and courage. But there is one final truth you must know. The suite is not just a reward, it is a doorway to who you really are. He paused, heart racing. Who he really was? What did that mean? As he read on, a small compartment in the wall clicked open. Inside was a photograph, slightly faded, of a man who looked remarkably like him. And next to the photograph, another envelope. This one contained a letter from the billionaire himself. Marcus, the letter began, your father was once a partner in a venture that changed the lives of many, but betrayal tore that partnership apart. The world has underestimated you, as they once underestimated him. This suite is yours, not just for luxury, but to honor your lineage, your courage, and your potential. Use it wisely. Marcus felt a surge of emotions, shock, pride, confusion. His life had changed in moments, and yet he felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. The suite was more than a reward, it was a challenge, a call to rise beyond what he had ever imagined. As he explored the room, he discovered more surprises. Letters from mentors, a journal chronicling the stories of others who had faced impossible odds, and even a small, intricately carved box. Opening it, he found a key, a different one, ancient and mysterious. A note beside it read, "This key opens doors you cannot yet see. Courage brought you here. Now wisdom must guide you." Marcus realized then that the suite wasn't just a prize, it was a gateway. Every choice he made here would shape the future, not just for him, but for everyone connected to his family's legacy. Hours passed as he explored every corner, reading, learning, and reflecting. He began to understand that the billionaire's challenges, the balance beam, the puzzle, the ledge, were all preparation. They were lessons in patience, trust, and courage, designed to mold him into someone who could carry responsibility with honor. As night fell, the city lights twinkled like stars below. Marcus stood by the window holding the ancient key in his hand, feeling a sense of destiny settle over him. He had entered as a boy who had been underestimated, mocked, and doubted. But now, he was someone who had proven himself to the world, and more importantly, to himself. The final twist came when the billionaire appeared in the doorway. "Marcus," he said, voice calm yet commanding, "you have passed every test. But remember, the true challenge has just begun. Life will continue to test you in ways far beyond this suite. Balance, courage, and wisdom will always be your greatest allies." Marcus nodded, understanding. He wasn't just a guest here, he was now part of a legacy entrusted with knowledge, opportunity, and responsibility. And though the future was uncertain, he felt ready. He had the key, the courage, and the wisdom to face whatever came next. As the billionaire left him alone in the suite, Marcus made a silent vow to honor his journey, to rise above every doubt, and to use his newfound power not for vanity, but for impact. The suite was not the end. It was the beginning of a life where courage, intelligence, and heart would guide every step. And as Marcus looked out over the city, he realized something profound. Sometimes the world laughs at you, mocks your abilities, and doubts your worth. But the true reward comes to those who refuse to let fear control their destiny. The suite had given him more than comfort. It had given him clarity, strength, and the promise of a future only he could shape. And in that moment, Marcus understood. He was ready for anything. Marcus has unlocked his destiny, proving courage, balance, and heart. If you were inspired by his journey, subscribe, like, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss more incredible stories that show what true determination can achieve.